to Doje Shangi Gompan Yuto Sho. Let's do 4. Limitless contemplation. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semjen damje dewatang deweju tang den paju jig dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawaju chik dungal mepe dewa tampatang mindra waju chik nering chak tang ni tang trawe tang nong chen bola ni paju chik. So good evening if you just came in. Oh, I can see you nicely tonight, Marion. Yay. So we're going to do part 2 and tonight. Part 2 of Transcending Ordinary Body, Speech, and Mind. But we started last time on that beautiful teaching of Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. And we're going to just finish that part tonight because I think, it's enough of all these sessions. This is actually part 5. But I'm going to start with a little story tonight. And then, Fee, we're going to do those little prayers, those little prayers. Hang on a moment. So this was a Thich Nhat Hanh story. He said, one cold winter evening, I returned from a walk in the hills and found all the doors and windows in my hermitage had blown open, and all the papers had blown off my desk with a cold wind. I closed the doors and windows, lit a lamp, picked up the papers and arranged them neatly on my desk. Then I started a fire in the fireplace, and soon the crackling logs brought warmth back into the room. Now he says, our senses are our windows to the world, and sometimes the wind blows through them and disturbs everything within us. Some of us leave our windows open all the time, allowing the sights and sounds of the world to invade us, penetrate us, and expose our sad, troubled selves. And he goes on to ask, do you watch troubling TV programs, unable to turn them off, raucous noises, gunfires? And why torture yourself, he says. Are you frightened of solitude? Are you frightened of the emptiness and the loneliness? Not only TV, but all the negative outside stimuli, even negative people. And he says, we really sometimes need to close the senses of the world, the outside windows, in order to find what we're really looking for. Now, last time we were talking about that we did a lot of discussion, and we were talking about that ordinary body, speech, and mind, and how we get hooked into it all the time and are unable to go to that Vajra body, speech, and mind. And what I want you really to think about is what I'm trying to do in all these talks on Monday and Tuesday is to take everybody and lift you beyond your ordinary speech and mind, beyond all the things that bug us. I'm also not going through a nice time at the moment because I'm adjusting to a new environment. The dogs are adjusting to a new environment. I know it's a temporary environment, and things are upside down. And tonight I was only ready at the last minute, which I don't like to do because I like to meditate and take my time and close the senses of the world before I even begin to allow anything to be taught through me. And so it's really important. So in my life, I try and put the real higher refuge, higher bodhicitta, higher mandala prayers into my practice every single morning. And I think if all of you can, I sent them to Fiona this afternoon. They're just short little prayers, and I would hope that all of you would be able to do these so that you move from, you know, when normally you take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, or the Guru, the Yidam, the Dakini. It's all external refuge, coming to internal. But the refuge I want you to do is the internal refuge to your higher bodies. So let's start. Oh, she does it so beautifully. I sent her such a bad copy, and look what she does. Fiona, it's wonderful. Okay, that's all I could say. Okay, so let's all do the inner refuge. Let's all do it together. Namo, in the empty essence, Dharmakaya, in the luminous nature, Sambhogakaya, in the manifold capacity, Nirmanakaya, I take refuge until enlightenment. Now that should be done 3 times. And if you do it, you can do your ordinary refuge, but if you do the higher refuge, it's that you are taking refuge in the bodies when they have transformed. That's what you're actually doing. So you're going ahead of where you are. And I find this prayer of Tulku Urgent Rinpoche really, really beautiful. Then bodhicitta, which is doing everything you're doing for the sake of all beings. This is the inner bodhicitta, and I use this every single day. Let's say it together. You start off with ho, ho, in order to establish all beings equal to the sky. That means everyone in the state of Buddhahood. I will realize the Dharmakaya of self-existing awareness through the teachings of the great perfection. Now that bodhicitta is ultimate what you're doing. And what I'm trying to teach, and I know a lot of people will catch this one up because it follows from last week, but I'm trying to teach you to go ahead of your external dualistic world and come to these things. And finally, you come to your own mandala of your heart. Now let's read that. You can do these if you want. Fiona will give you a copy, I'm sure, online now. But let's just do the mandala. And I want to explain this to you because if you understand this, oh, Fee, this is so beautiful. I also want it. So let's all say this together. Hum, hum. All sights are the body of the peaceful and wrathful ones. Okay? Everything embraced is primordially pure space. That's not part of the prayer, but that's Tulku's explanation. All that is heard is the sound of mantra. Thought-free awareness is the space of luminosity. The ocean-wide realms are filled with clouds of offerings. Innumerable activities free all beings. This is the all-pervading mandala of the victorious one. Everything is perfect in the continuity of one taste. Don't take it off, Fee. I want to explain this to you because if you make this mandala in your heart, everybody, you will find that first of all, the first one, all sights, is the body. So what you're saying is, suddenly this ordinary body that we've been talking about is now the body of the peaceful and wrathful one. So it is a perfect body with everything that you need. That's what your body is. The second one is your speech. All that is heard is the sound of mantra. So everything that you hear in the world, that's the speech. Thought-free awareness is the space of luminosity. That means that if you've got this beautiful intrinsic awareness, which we were talking about last week, it is the space of luminosity. That is the luminous mind, what your real mind is. And then the ocean-wide realms are filled with clouds of offering. Those are the qualities. You've got those qualities and you're offering them everywhere. And the last sentence, innumerable activities, free all being. Those are your 5 enlightened activities, which I've spoken about, and I'll do another teaching on that another time. But what you've got there are your 5 things: body, speech, mind, qualities, enlightened activities. And they correspond with the 5 wisdoms. That is who you are. As soon as you say this mandala, and I do this mandala every day, and I do those other 2 prayers every day, several times, just to remind myself to know who you really are. And that is what happens when you can change your whole being. Thank you, Feet. That is beautiful the way you've done it. Oh my God, I wanted to. But what I'm saying to all of you is that when you understand that that mandala of your heart is exactly like that, you've got it. The 5 things: body, speech, mind, qualities, activities. Those are your 5 things that you really, really need. And when you've got them, you're then free and enlightened. So it's absolutely amazing. So what I want you to understand is, in the beginning, let's have this picture in our minds what it must really be like to be awakened. What it must be like to be awakened and know everything about everything. That's what Taisitu Rinpoche says. When you're awakened, you know everything about everything. Not only do you know about the beautiful, real, the beautiful Dharma and all its qualities, you know everything about the earthly qualities, about the human qualities as well. You can relate to that. The Buddha could relate to all your earthly qualities and to your super qualities. It's really, really important that you understand this. And those of you that can do those prayers, you'll find it absolutely amazing. And think about being enlightened. Think about no studies, effortless, spontaneous, and no suffering. I mean, aren't we really going there? Aren't we trying to get there? And are we prepared to give up the way we've thought? Because I try with these prayers to remember, to remind myself, and everybody who I see that suffers so badly, I try and explain that this connection is naturally ours. We've already got it. We're already perfect. But because of all the eons of conditioning that we've had, it first takes time and effort and regular practice. It takes a lot when we get there, and patience, because we get the whole idea that our nature is beyond suffering and know exactly what to do. But as soon as a difficult situation comes along, we go back to the same old crap. And the whole thing is, we have to change this in some way. We have to change our perception of absolutely everything and our habit conditioning. Now, there was a lovely, lovely story which I think is special to share here. Let's see if I can find it. When I turn my thing upside down, then it's all gone. Okay, here it is. And this was the story of wrong perception. So one young army officer with a very hot temper and a history of anger and stress-related problems was ordered by his colonel to attend an 8-week mindfulness course to assist this. One day, after attending the course for some weeks, he stops for groceries on his way home in a hurry. There were long queues to get out. He noticed a woman in front of him had only one item that she was going through, but she wasn't in the express queue. She was carrying a baby and talking to the cashier. He became so irritated. He really became irritated. And she passed the baby to the cashier, who spent a moment cooing over the baby, and he felt his habitual anger rising. I mean, this is a shop. And what's she bringing her baby and got one item to show the baby to the cashier? Okay. But then, because of his course, he became aware of the heat and tightness and pain. And so he breathed and he relaxed from doing the mindfulness course. And so when he looked up, the baby was smiling. Cute little boy, he said to the cashier, even though he'd been so irritated. Did you like him? She responded. That's my baby. His father was killed in the Air Force last winter. Now I have to work full time. And so you see, my mom brings him in once or twice a day so that I can say hello to him. Now think about that story, because it's a really beautiful story, I think, because when you look at people and you're so impatient with them, when you look at people and you're so irritated because you don't know. You see, when you're aware, you know everything about people, but many of us do not understand how people are, how they are, what they're going through, what they are. And so it's quite important, because when we have awakened body, speech, and mind, it's really important to be able to see what people are going through and where they are and how they are without judgment. Does anyone want to comment on that or on the prayers? Do you like those prayers? Would you use them? Tati, I think you must use them a lot, because I think all of you, it takes you right out of yourself. It really, really does. Marion, not Mimi, do you do any of these prayers?
Hi, Mel.
Hi,
You're asking me.
yeah. Do you do any of those?
Yeah, I just do the general. No, I don't do the Dorje Chung. I've got Dorje Chung that I do the small, it's a short preliminary 6 times a day. But in general, I take the normal refuge and the normal body cheetah. So it's nice for this. I like this one. It's nice.
Nice.
Like you said, it brings you out of your.
It brings it from duality inside to taking refuge in your own highest being. And that's what's important, rather than everything dualistically outside of yourself, which Buddhism, tries to teach you differently. So let's go back then. Does anyone else want to comment or say anything? Okay, so let's go back to last week. We were talking about that Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. He talks about your little self and your bigger self. I've never heard it talked about in Buddhism, but Jung spoke about the big self. But just understanding, we were talking last time about who we are. Are we the mother? Are we the wife? Are we the partner? Are we the lawyer? Who are we? Looking at your identification, not with the little self. And that he talked about the pain body, pain speech, and pain mind, which we talk about. But he said that most of the time, and that's what I was telling you last time, most of the time, our view causes us a lot of pain, because the pain of needing and desiring what we don't have, the pain and fear of losing what we do have, the pain of being separated from our loved ones, the pain of encountering people we don't like. Our whole being is watching through pain. And I spoke last week of the three things that the main causes of pain. One, our conceptual mind. We always analyzing, we always labeling, we always judging, we always doing all sorts of things. That's our conceptual mind, and it's a cause of great pain, because just as we saw, when you label a circumstance, you're missing the point, you're missing the perception, you're missing the connection. And the second thing is your karmic conditions. Now, people's karmic conditions go on and on and on and on. And I was talking to someone today who said, Melanie, do none of my relationships, are no relationships ever going to work out for me? They just never work out. They always end. And I said, don't say they never work out. Rather look at, what are you looking at in your karmic conditions? Because maybe there's something you haven't learned. Maybe there's something you haven't been able to see. And maybe these difficult relationships are really a way of getting you to be able to see this. So rather look at that than say, I'm never going to have this. I'm never going to have a nice relationship. I'm never going to be able to do this. Don't judge that. The circumstances you are in are perfect. And someone also texted me today who'd been here last week, who couldn't be here this week, and said, you know, well, my circumstances are pretty painful, but I guess they're the ones I need to be in. So I thought, well, if you learned that last week, then that's great, because you're in the circumstances you need to be. But we always want something else. But meanwhile, these circumstances are exactly the right one. And what we have to do is, I told you last week, and I'm not going to do much because I want to go on to the higher stuff tonight, but we were talking about, he calls it a conceptual, karmic, emotional pain body, and a conceptual, karmic, emotional pain speech, and a conceptual, karmic, those three things, your conceptual mind, your karmic conditions, and your negative emotions are all together, and a conceptual, karmic, emotional pain mind. So it calls them pain body, pain speech, pain mind, and that we experience our whole life through these pain body, speech, and mind. Are you not tired of it? Aren't you tired of seeing the whole world through your pain, And he does say the good thing about this pain body, pain speech, and pain mind is it can be the path through which we discover Rigpa and our own absolutely higher self, our own proper nature. We can discover it through the pain body. And he says the pain body is not just about the body, it's our whole identity, it's our whole language. We spoke about it last time. The pain speech is somebody who goes on and on and on trying to make a point, and people don't get it, or they have fruitless dialogue, or something else is going on inside you while you're talking. That pain speech is not connecting with people. That's what we talked about last time. And the pain mind, when that dominates, you've got a million scattered thoughts, and your mind goes off with that thought, and your mind goes off with that thought, and your mind goes off with that thought. Or even if you've got something like anger or depression or anxiety or fear or whatever the case is, you begin, you see the whole world through that particular feeling. That's called pain mind. And he says, this is where we begin to train. And you have to say, I was telling you last week, this is not me. This anxious or this frightened or this angry person is not me. That's how you start training yourself to get out of it and to become aware of our true nature, which doesn't have those negative emotions in it. It's really important that all of you understand that, because we want to go on into finding the doorway through these into the higher bodies. So let's look at what are the three bodies as he really discusses them when pain body dissolves into stillness, pain speech dissolves into silence, and pain mind dissolves into the spaciousness of the non-conceptual awareness. So he says, if we examine the three bodies that are with us even now and how they go from lower to higher, the first one is called the conceptual karmic body, which we're going to change for the Vajra body, which is your whole identity, the whole of who you really are in your true nature. Now, the conceptual karmic body, he says, is your samsaric view. What you do every single day with your conceptual karmic body. It's your samsaric view. It's the reality around us. It's what our parents have taught us. It's what school taught us. It's what the TV shows. It's a heaviness and denseness. It's a duality. It's a clinging, thinking things are permanent. It's our personal sense of identity, our belief system. This is good. This is bad. This is right. This is wrong. Like Phyllis was saying tonight, she can't understand how people can actually believe. What kind of systems have they got in place? They're working in their conceptual karmic body. So they believe lies. They believe that's what we've been trained to believe. That's your conceptual karmic body, your culture, your religion, your family upbringing. And Tenzin Wangyal says it's important to understand this in order to get past it. So to get to liberation, you really have to liberate. You have to know what you are doing in your conceptual body. Because if you're doing the same stuff ups over and over and over again, then you can use that to go beyond and see something beyond it, which is really, really important. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And so he says the liberation of the body is the liberation of the self, especially at death. And I just put the question over to you. You know, think about it. Think about that moment of death where you go through the portal of death and you hanging on to all the things that you've got, to your family, to your children, to your partners, to your home, to your possessions, to your everything. And none of that really exists. How do you go through the portal of death without really, really, really being able to see in your life that everything's impermanent, nothing belongs to you, nothing is really for you? How do you go through that? How would you go through that if this is what your identity is? And now death is something to really fear because, I'm going to lose all of this. I'm going to lose all these people. I'm never going to see them again. That's why people are afraid, really afraid of death. Now, the second body that he talks about is called the illusory wisdom body. The illusory wisdom body. Why illusory? Because it's not made of. Illusory means it's not made of a permanent, coarse substance. It's an illusory wisdom body. But what is this illusory wisdom body? It's characterized by wisdom. It's got the realization of truth. You're moving from that conceptual body into the illusory wisdom body. And it's got a positive sense of the illusory because everything in the illusory wisdom body is experienced as ultimate truth. Everything is transient. You see in the world, everything is transient. Everything is dependently related. That means this happened because of this, because of this, because of this. If one of those factors wasn't there, it wouldn't happen. So you're not attached to the permanence of all of that, okay? It's subject to conditions. It's empty of any defining essence. Everything is a projection of your mind. And in that illusory wisdom body, you say, it's like a rainbow. It's like an echo. It's like a mirage. You're no longer struggling with your experiences. There's clarity. There's lucidity. There's openness. There's freedom. You're free of concepts. You're free of hatred. You're free of grasping. You're flowing through each moment, he says. And the pain becomes transparent. You can see through it. You can see, I'm in such a state about this, but it's not even permanent, and it's not even me, and it's not even truthful, and it's going to dissolve any moment. And he says you have increased spontaneity, humor, joy, less dependent on what you have than on who you are. He says happiness stems from your connection with the true nature. There's no attachment, not even to relationships. Now, you tell me how you do that when you've got beautiful grandchildren and they live far away and you see them and then you have to say goodbye to them. Isn't that training you for the illusory wisdom body? Because they never were yours. They never belonged to you. Neither did your children. Your children grow up and off they go. And it's really, really interesting because once you can get a sense of the illusory wisdom body, which equates with the Sambhogakaya, then you can go into the third body. And the third body is called the changeless, precious body, which is like the Dharmakaya, okay? It's not a process, but it's a result. The changeless, precious body, it's a result after unwavering confidence in your illusory wisdom body. So you can't get that changeless, precious body until you have an idea of the truth of everything. When you're attached to everything, when you're angry about everything, when you're disappointed in everything, you can't get the illusory wisdom body. If you can't get the illusory wisdom body, you definitely can't get the changeless, precious body, because this body is the inseparable state of essence and nature. So your essence is emptiness, your nature is awareness and or clarity. And those two are who you really are. And you have a realization of the truth, and it's changeless. Everything self-liberates. That word self-liberates is such a beautiful thing, because self-liberates means it liberates of itself. And that means that nothing in your life is tangible. Not any of your problems, not any of your depression, not any of anything is tangible in any conceivable way. And he says, you can experience a glimpse of this at moments of exhaustion. You know, suddenly you just crash after you've had a heavy day. And just for a moment, you just let go of everything. You go, oh. Now, most people would want to take a whiskey then or something like that, you know. But actually, it's just taking a breath of letting everything be. I've done my work. I'm finished everything. Oh, I'm sinking on the bed or a chair. And in that moment, you have a glimpse of your precious, changeless body. It's amazing because you have a glimpse and you release all effort, all emotions, all thoughts. You're light, you're joyful, you're energetic when you finish. Changelessness, he says, becomes stabilized only through practice. You become fearless. You're not fear of losing it. You're not afraid of losing anything. And you know, I think that when you do real tantric practice, when you do deity practice and you become that deity, not an external thing, but when you start acting like that, you're going into the illusory wisdom body and the changeless, precious body, because it's kind of a way of stepping out of yourself, of being out of yourself. And Fee, I'm coming to that chart in a moment, okay? But I want to just say that these three bodies, the karmic conceptual body, which is painful and which goes according to the rules, the illusory wisdom body, and the changeless precious body. God, aren't you all dying for that? Wouldn't you like to be where you know everything about everything, where you're not struggling with your day-to-day life, absolutely mad and furious and you know, can't manage this and this is awful and I feel sick and I've got this problem and I've got to attend to this. In that changeless, precious body, it just becomes absolutely illusionary, absolutely temporary. It's really hard. But he talks about, and I've read about this a lot in other prayers, he talks about the three sets of eyes, okay, which is really interesting, the three eyes. He says each body has a type of eye or a capacity for perception, okay, each eye and different capacity. Now, he said, with your conceptual karmic body, you always see through to life with the way you analyze life, with your karma, with your disposition, with your everything. That's how you see life. He says, but what you have to develop with that is called the wisdom eye. The wisdom eye. What's the wisdom eye? Now, you can all develop that wisdom eye very, very easily, but then you have to stop your old habitual way of seeing things. This is a terrible person. Look what they're doing to me. This is a person I don't trust. This is a person, this is a terrible situation. The wisdom eye doesn't see it like that. The wisdom eye is completely different, doesn't see it through your karma, through your religion, through your family background and everything else. Like, if you look at the way we see things, as I said last time, if you are an estate agent, okay, you're going to walk past, I'm walking with an estate agent, and they see through their karmic conceptual eye, oh, this would be a very good house. I'd really like to sell it. It's well put together. Okay, and I walk past, I don't even notice the house. If you're a lawyer, then you probably look at the legal aspects, say of an election or of a or whatever you're doing. Your karmic conceptual body sees through the eyes of the role that you are. Now, when you get the wisdom eye, you're now looking through a completely different thing, because the wisdom eye cuts the root of samsara, sees the truth of the conceptual thing, sees through whatever you are doing, and might analyze it in terms of your Buddhist philosophy. So, for instance, if you see somebody who's really being abusive of you, you may, through the wisdom eye, see two things. You may see their pain rather than how abusive they're being, or you may even see, this is really good learning for me because I'm learning to be humbled by this. The wisdom eye, when you use it in your conceptual body, it becomes a different way of perceiving things. Now, some of you might want to ask me, put your cameras on so at least I can see you guys. We're such a small number tonight, so let me at least see a few more of you, then talk to words on your screens. Do you want to say something, Kathy? Thanks, Patricia.
Yeah, Mel, so at the moment, I'm finding people very defensive and angry and protective, and yeah, so I'm finding people quite draining, but then I'm also trying to take responsibility for myself and, make sure that I'm not adding to all of that. So I kind of keep to myself, but and I do try and see their pain or see where they're coming from.
Do you try and use the wisdom eye?
Yeah, I do. I do try, but I'm finding that they tend to get quite explosive with me, or they try to get pushy with me, and because I try to share my positivity, and because I don't see any value of just getting sucked into the drama of the world. Things are going to happen regardless of it. So I try and share.
But you know what it sounds like? You know what it sounds like to me?
Yeah.
That I could actually feel if I was in one of those terrible moods and everything, and you came and shared your positive philosophy, and I mean, you are always bright and shining and smiley and all of that kind of thing. I could be highly irritated with you.
Totally, I know.
So then, using your wisdom eye, you might change the way you see things, because you might see that when somebody is really negative and being grumpy and being really facetious and everything, it might be better to just put your hand on their back and say, hi, I can see you having a hard day today, rather than giving them a whole philosophy about how they should see things and maybe it's good. Do you know what I mean? Because
But I'm not even doing that. I'm not even sharing any of that.
why are
I'm,
they irritated? Why are they blowing up on you?
I'm just
Because
finding everybody, people on buses, complete strangers, my family. It's like, I feel like, and I'm like, right, I'm just sort of, I'm actually very quiet, I'm just quietly being myself. I'm not even going around giving my philosophy to anybody, but I'm also not gonna, like yesterday I came up with an idea in the office to like raise funds for charity. And the one person I knew who would be like, no, she would be like, not for me. But the way she said it, I was like, and I never said anything. I just said, no problem, thank you. And she was so annoyed that I came up with it.
okay,
Sounds
then that's fine. If you said no problem, that's fine. That's perfect. It's just that when people are in their conceptual karmic body, the most important thing in your wisdom eye is to perceive them, not in the way you would actually see them with your whole background. But, sometimes when you put that question mark on, you see where they're coming from, and then you really are able to disarm them, but not preach to them in any way. When people are in a bad mood,
no, I don't even preach. I don't preach to anybody, but I'm
yeah,
also not going to be like, all
with
down
them.
in the dumps and grumpy with
No,
them.
it's true. But when you use the wisdom eye really, really has a conceptual idea of the Dharma. So it's not the full thing like in the illusory body. It's not like that, but it does have a pretty good idea of the wisdom eye to see things a little bit differently. That's what I've been trying to teach people all the time, to see things from a different perspective. And then it's really very useful. It honestly is. But anyway, I think it's lovely. You keep your chirpy thing. I think that beautiful, beautiful energy. People who are in a bad mood don't like beautiful energy around them. They'll be very grumpy about it. But I think if you can sustain that in some way without getting, put off, it's really, really good. But let me give you, so that's the eye of wisdom. With the illusory body, he calls it the eye of Bon. Now, that eye I know has got another name because I don't really understand the word Bon that he uses. But anyway, I'll explain what the eye is. The eye of Bon is needed to attain the changeless, precious body. This eye is the capacity for awakening to the teachings when the need arises. You need to relax, release your goals and desires, and allow this eye to open and the energy to flow. So what that eye of Bon is, he says, if something disturbing happens or there's a hateful memory, we can spontaneously remember the master, the teaching, the practice. We can get out of it very quickly and very easily with the eye of, it's B with the B-O-N with a double dot on the O. But I'm not sure of what the other name is of it. I used to know these three eyes, but I had another name. If anybody finds the other name, let me know, but in any case, it's being able to really apply the Dharma, the whole psychology of the Dharma to whatever you're seeing. And then finally, with the changeless, precious body, you've got the eye of omniconsciousness. Omniconsciousness sees the infinite nature of space. The conceptual mind can't find the truth because it's blind, okay? The wisdom still remains subject to conditions and interrupts awareness, but the eye of omniconsciousness sees the truth beyond the concepts, beyond the teachings. Everything is complete, so nothing really hassles him. Searching for realization ends. The primordial awareness is totally merged with the essence, beyond hope and fear. No need for action, no need to change or grasp. like the sky, no interruption or obscuration. Oh, wouldn't we all love the eye of omniconsciousness? I mean, it means you can really see things. Now, when you go to a master, they see things. You know, I'm always tickled pink by our Thai Situ, Fiona, because I know she also loves him. Because, you know, if you've ever noticed what he does, he often puts a naughty example in. You know, like he'll go to me. I remember him saying to me, you know what? I love horror movies. You know, I love horror movies. I love watching them. And I'd go, Rinpoche, when would you have time to watch horror movies? He said, oh, yes, I love to watch horror movies. Now, you know, I began to think that basically that was often, I think, just to bring himself to your level. You know, being naughty, would often say naughty things to me. Like when I came back from Delhi and I had seen the police officer and I just wanted to get on with the teaching now. And he said, no, but I want to know what happened with the police officer. You know, he liked to know, what did I say to him? How did I say it? He's got that naughty way with his eye of omniconsciousness. He's got that naughty way. And so, Kathy, for you, it engages people. It makes you laugh. It disarms you. And then when you're disarmed, you can see the truth much more easily. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Fee, have you ever noticed that with him?
Oh,
Maybe
yes. No, he does. I think he connects with people through the humor. I mean, he is a very humorous person, and he loves making jokes and making fun of things, and you know,
and naughty jokes and horror jokes, and you know,
yes, he loves horror movies. Apparently, he absolutely loves them.
that he shocks you with them,
Mm.
and that's his way of breaking your resistance, because you think you're coming into the presence of this wonderful master who must have all the knowledge in the world and everything, and then he says something absolutely ridiculous and you're totally disarmed. You don't
To
even
get
know.
your attention, I think, yes, it's to bring you back to yourself. I think it's actually what he's doing now.
Exactly. And if you look at it, it's exactly what all of this is, that you grow to have these different eyes. The eye of omniconsciousness sees the world really as it is, not through all the karmic circumstances and through your perceptions and everything. It really sees the world as it is, and it's really, really fascinating. And he goes on with the three truths and the three knowledges. I'm going to show you now on the chart, just one moment, like the three truths. He says, when you look at the conceptual body, it sees the truth in external actions, events, concepts, emotion. The illusory wisdom body, the truth's no longer primarily external. It's found everywhere. It can be just in being, just in simply being. Being in the physical presence of the master is more empowering than the words he uses. And then he says the truth of the changeless, precious body is that there are no ugly things. And Phyllis, this is for you particularly. There actually are no ugly things in the world, okay? Everything is already naturally pure and perfected. The heart-mind transmission is not interrupted nor changed by time or space. The connection, it's just the ability to receive right there. That's the truth. But, you know, remember what I started with last time was that the Buddha said to Shariputra, it's not my fault if you can't see that I've got a pure realm. You can only see your own ugliness, your own concepts, your own things. When you grow to get the eye of wisdom and then the eye of Bon and then the eye of omniconscious, you see the truth in a different way, because there is no tangible things in the world. It's all absolutely empty, and it's dependently related. And there's nothing outside. Your mind is the mirror that gives it. So I'd like to do a meditation on the three knowledges, but just put that chart up for you. And then she always does things so beautifully. I send her such terrible things, but
well, I didn't manage to do this one as much as I could have done, but it's
fine.
I unsquonked it a bit, yeah.
Okay, but I'm not going to go through this because I've explained it all to you. But this chart, and if Fiona can put it, because it's very difficult to photograph the chart because all their books never open flat. You try and make it as flat as you can to make it, but as you can see, it's a bit distorted. But this particular chart is how you see the three bodies, the three eyes, the three truths, the three knowledges, the three experiences, and the three confidences. How you are confident in things like once you come to the changeless, precious body, you've got absolute confidence that in a view, confidence is being open, is being open to the outcome. So when you've got confidence, you're not worried that this or this or this or this is going to happen. You're confident that whatever the outcome is, it will be okay. It'll be the right place. It'll be the right thing. It'll be okay. That's what confidence is about in the ultimate sense. So this chart is really very good. And I think that if we can actually, maybe do it differently, then I think you should give it to everybody, because I think it's a really good chart to have when you're looking and when you're going through your real struggles.
Yeah, I'll do it as a proper table with all the different.
Wonderful. Because I think that this is really helpful that you put this up on your wall and you really have this so that you can see the different bodies that you're trying to strive towards and so on. But let's just do a meditation on his three knowledges, because I think he gives a beautiful meditation on it. So let's do that meditation. And then you can ask all your questions and things that you want to. I just want to see what else I do want to give you. He just says, when you abide in openness, you are connecting to the source. And that's what we want to do with everything. You want to connect with the source of everything and with your own source. He says, when you are unable to abide, it's because your mind is elaborating. Such an interesting thing, because what does abide mean? Abide means just sit and be. Just sit and be. You can't sit and be if your mind is going, and what's next? And I've got to do this tomorrow. And I'm so angry about this. And I'm so disappointed about this. You can't abide. So you know that when you are open to every possibility, then you are calm, and then everything can evolve in its pure, clear way. And if it's hard, he says, and if you can't sit just like this, means your mind is elaborating. What does that mean? It means your mind is making up stories, making up delusions, making up all kinds of things. That's what your mind is doing all the time. You can't sit because your mind is busy doing things. And that's how I feel since I've come into this house. I haven't really gone into spaciousness because I'm always busy figuring this out and figuring how I should do that and figuring what I should do with that and figuring out. It's enough. Who cares about the figuring out? Why don't I just enjoy the environment and stop figuring things out? I'm so tired of figuring things out. How I should do this. What should I do with the dogs? How should I conduct this? How should I do that? That's what our minds are doing all the time. And that's why we can't relate to the higher bodies. Ego, you are pondering to the depth. What are you thinking? And then let's do the meditation. Can one let go? can you let go of all your life's experiences? Jean, can you let go of all your life's experiences and regenerate and know that there is this space, this true nature of mind that can just be? Is that possible? Tut, Marion Cassidy, Pam, is it possible? Is it possible to let go of the tangibility of this life and go into a space that is beyond, because it is already in you perfectly? The only reason you haven't realized it is because you're so busy ordering everything in your life all the time.
Mel, if I can say something that was
Please.
occurring to me as you were talking, I've heard the masters talking about Tilopas. One of the things he taught was to see you properly, as he would put it. You need to see with the eyes of the blind. Literally, your whole perception should not be the physical, what you can actually see with the physical eye. See with the eyes of the blind. I think he also said, hear with the ear of the deaf, speak with the tongue of the mute. And it's like all the senses need to be. It's something that occurred to me as you were speaking. It kind of clicked for me there.
Good. It's really good, because in one of the prayers that I do in the morning from Tulku Urgent, it says there, open the eye of ignorance. Now, when I read this, I thought, open the eye of ignorance. Okay. But actually, so I thought, why is the prayer telling you to open the eye of ignorance? Then you'll be more ignorant if you open it. But what I realized afterwards is that when your eyes are shut to the real perception of the world, then you are using the eye, you are using it's the eye of ignorance is closed down, and you need to open it to get beyond it. Actually, why would they say open the eye of ignorance? Means if you keep your eyes shut, you can't see. You're absolutely ignorant. If you open those eyes, you might see the truth. And what do you see when you see the truth of your life? Are you disappointed? But how can you be disappointed when it's perfect as it is? Now you're going to fight with me on that. A few of you are smiling. Patricia.
No, it is, Mel. It's this constant dance in samsara. We're constantly distracted by everything around us, and it's to keep remembering. And that's why doing regular practice keeps us organized, because otherwise we forget, we get sucked in, we become frustrated. Everything in the world, the politics and everything just distracts us all the time. It's exhausting.
Absolutely exhausting. What you're saying is really exactly it. And he says, when we discover that everything we thought we needed, we don't need, we are complete. Then we discover aliveness, joy, and ceaseless qualities. We accept loss, we connect with space, and we trust that space is a place where love and light will manifest in total freedom. But we don't have confidence in that. We look at our day-to-day life and, oh, damn, this day-to-day life is not going anything like I wanted it to. I can be having sessions with people, and some of them are wonderful, and some of them are terrible. I'm not getting anywhere with the person. And, do I then say, oh my God, I have to give up this counseling because I'm not getting anywhere with people? Do I make a generalization? Do I hate myself? Do I hate the person? Do I hate what I do? Think about what I'm saying. I know that it shakes us up. But think about the circumstances of your life, how perfect they are for you, for what you created in your karma, for what you have to learn. These are perfect circumstances. If only we could see it. But we
Now,
can't.
I think we can go back to the basics with refuge. We always taking refuge in the wrong things.
Exactly. Yeah. But one thing's for sure, Tatiana, that when people are helping other people, they're happy. Doesn't matter who you are, how evil you are, how lousy you are, how stupid you are. When you can help another person, it feels wonderful for everybody. Why? Because that's one of the qualities of those, when I said body, speech, mind, qualities, activities, one of the qualities is generosity, sharing, helping, going to the beggar in the street, going to the people that pull carts, going to the despondent people, the depressed people, the people who are overwhelmed by their suffering and whatever. It's so important. It's really important. Look, you're upside down now, Phil. That's how most of us are. We see the world upside down. You know that. Maybe when we see the world upside down, we might see the truth. I mean, I'm being a little facetious tonight, I must say. It's like my mood today, but I'm trying to shake you out of your complacency and shake myself at the same time that I'm doing it for you. Because all things are not like they are. Today I got all these messages from people, Melanie, I can't be there tonight because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this. So half the group isn't here tonight. So then I came in and felt a little despondent. Now, what was I despondent about? All of you are here, and that's beautiful. And so we see the world through the eye of wisdom. Everybody that needs to be here is here. And that's our problem. We always see it through distorted eyes. Oh, Jean, welcome to the world. I'm very happy to see you. Have you got something you want to say? Okay, it doesn't matter, but it's lovely to see your face. But let's do the meditation. Let's do it. Get into your meditation posture. I'm going to give you this lovely meditation that he gives, the beautiful way of getting all your bodies. I'm just going to get there. Okay. So he calls it the three knowledges. I just want to see that I've got maximum brightness. Okay, that's better. So he calls it the three knowledges. He says, for each, so go into your meditation, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. He says, for each of the three bodies, there is a type of knowledge that can liberate you from that body. If you have a karmic, conceptual body, you tend to look outward for the truth. As you are looking out, Nangze Lopo suggests trying to allow clear, thought-free knowledge to arise. Let your consciousness become mirror-like, and externally all will appear clear and empty, like a reflection in the mirror. A mirror does not grasp the images reflected in it. All the images self-arise, self-abide, and self-liberate. So as you contemplate or meditate, you can close your eyes and imagine your heart as a mirror. Imagine your heart as a mirror. When you open your eyes, experience that they are a direct, transparent entryway to your heart, and that everything you see as you open your eyes outside of you is just a reflection. As you open your eyes, everybody, look outside of you and see everything as a reflection. If you can do this, everything you see will support your clarity of heart and mind in the same way that the clarity of an image reflected in a mirror directly supports your experience of the mirror's clarity. So for your knowledge of your conceptual body, that's the meditation you do. That you've got a mirror in your heart. You close your eyes and see that mirror, then you open your eyes and you look at everything around you, and it's all a reflection in the mirror. Directly, clearly, an image reflected in the mirror. As the illusory wisdom body manifests over time, your focus will begin to turn inward. You will be more connected to yourself and less dependent on outside circumstances. The practice for the illusory wisdom body, therefore, involves looking inward. Observe each thought and emotion as it arises and as it spontaneously dissolves. The experience will be clear and thought-free. To cultivate the recognition of this empty awareness within you, imagine a lamp shining within a crystal vase. Within the vase, there is both space, emptiness, and light, awareness, and these two aspects are inseparable. This is the knowledge that liberates from the illusory wisdom body. When you realize that within you there is a lamp shining within a crystal vase, and within that vase there is space and emptiness, and these are inseparable. When you can realize this, you free yourself from the illusory wisdom body. When the two experiences of emptiness and awareness dissolve into each other as an unchanging experience of open awareness, external and internal space are unified. Your wisdom no longer looks outward or inward, and the wisdom is said to be hidden like lightning in a daytime sky. This is the liberation of the precious, changeless body. It is the deepest form of bliss and joy, free of the activities of the conceptual mind, free of the views of nihilism, that's nothingness, or eternism, that's forever is there. Eventually, when we can do these meditations, outward, seeing it as reflection, inward, seeing the clarity together with the emptiness, and right inwards, seeing that you are completely perfect, then you can start that liberation of all the bodies. And confidence in changing your body slowly comes as soon as you stop identifying with every single experience that is there. And finally, if we really practice, and the precious, changeless body starts dissolving, we attain the light body, the rainbow body, which is the complete manifestation of our purest state. And in the rainbow body, when we can attain the rainbow body, as many masters have, we can act ceaselessly to benefit all sentient beings. It's just discovering that we are already complete in every way. That's what the great completion is. Just to say one more thing to you all, that you know, when you study the Dzogchen teachings, there are two ways to get the light body, and I'm not going to talk about it much, but there are two ways to get the light body, two practices. One's called Trekchu and one's called Togel. And the Trekchu, is being able to be in absolute space and stillness, which is just emptiness and awareness, to be able to sit in that. That's the Trekchu. And the Togel is when the visions start arising, these perfect visions out of the essence, which is absolutely beautiful. And once you can have those visions, eventually those visions become the 100 deity and the mandala that we were doing as the practice. And once you have that, you free yourself completely. And so many of these masters who attain the rainbow body, you know, they've already got the changeless, precious body. And then at death, when they're going to die, they just put themselves in a tent or in a room that is, you know, nobody touches them. And then you see all the elements dissolving, and you just see rainbow light everywhere. And when they open the tent, there is a little body this small that is, there's a little body left, like a size of a child, and just masses of rainbow lights. And they take that little body and they have a cremation of it, and then people can get the bits and pieces from it. But that being is totally free. And like as Yeshe Tsogyal described, she said, I sit here, and you asked about emanations. She just emanates wherever she needs, wherever she's needed, whatever she's needed on whatever plane or planet. She just emanates beings, and that's what the rainbow light body is really about. Very beautiful. Wouldn't you like to attain it? I would. No more life, no more birth, no more death, just being able to serve in every complete way. So I just want to give you one last little thing, and then we'll end for tonight. He talks about the three bodies in daily life. And he says, not only meditation practice, but daily life can offer many opportunities to become familiar with all of this. He says, consider that in every process of loss, like somebody dies that's close to you, go through a bereavement, he says there's first darkness and sadness, and then there's light. He says, and that's true whether in the death of a family member, the loss of a job, or times of tears, or even sexual climax. He says, just letting out a deep breath can be a doorway to a deep experience of meditation. Breathe in deeply and then release. All experience is complete in that very moment. Like, you know, I was talking to some of you, you know, when you have a particular family member that really hurts you over and over again, or that doesn't fulfill your needs and everything. And like, you really feel exasperated with that person. You feel absolutely terrible. And he says, first, there is terrible darkness and sadness. And then when you breathe in and you release it, suddenly there's light. And he says, we have so much fear of loss, yet these moments of loss give us an opportunity, open portal to unity, to experience the absence of our conditions, to experience the clarity within the space, and to realize that everything's already perfected. He says the closer our connection is with the space, the more potentiality we can experience. And he says, I find it interesting that when people say that a difficult experience has helped them to know themselves better, he says, so people go through a terrible experience, they say, yes, Rinpoche, but this has really helped me to know myself better. He says, what this usually means is they've come to identify even more strongly with their conditions, and they've established and reinforced their pain body as their samsaric identity. You know, like people say to me, you know, Melanie, I never used to stand up for myself, but now I stand up for myself. Okay. So what that really is that understanding who you are. No, if you bulldoze people with how you stand up to yourself, then you certainly haven't learned it properly. You know, you really haven't. He says you've identified more with your pain body. He says, and other people find themselves in limbo after a loss because they continue clinging to what they've lost and they never experience completion. Like your poor sister, Kathy, you know, like sometimes when people are really lose someone and they really can't get over it, he says, then you cling to that pain body there, that samsaric identity, and you never experience completion. But funny, when you lose someone very close to you, if you really go through the process, you can experience completion in the end, and to know that that was the right thing that happened to you. He says, the right experience of closeness to oneself comes not from connecting with the conditions, but from connecting with the loss of one's conditions. He said that very point where you start to feel like you are losing something, like someone's dying or you're losing your job and you have no control over it, can be your biggest moment of discovery, because everything you thought you needed, you don't need. You are complete. The moment you glimpse that completion, you can discover the aliveness, the joyful potentiality, the ceaseless quality. He says it's just a matter of having confidence in your experience. Why am I going through this financial depravity? Why am I going through the loss of this person? Why? What is it? Suddenly, as you're losing, you're not identifying and holding on to the loss. You suddenly realize, I am complete. And maybe what this person came to give me has already been given to me. Maybe it's completed. I just remember with a family that I was counseling where their father got killed in an airplane crash. They were all under the duvet. And I didn't know what to do. No one could get them out of the duvet. So there was a jug on the table. So I took the jug like this and I said to them, the little boy was looking at me with one eye out of the duvet, and I said, how full did your dad fill this jug? So he looked up quite higher than that and he said, oh, it was full, it was full, it was full. I said, aren't you lucky? Because now your jug is full. You need to pour it into other people's cups. Maybe if your dad, how difficult is it to see that? That maybe what the person gave you is full, it's enough. We never have enough. We're always looking for fill the empty space instead of going in the empty space and knowing that you have everything already. That's enough for tonight. Let's dedicate. And if anybody's got anything to say, because I've said a lot tonight, and there's lots you can actually say. But let's dedicate to all the people who are suffering, to all the people who are really all the beings who are having a hard time, to all the beings who are clinging to loss, who are looking at their ordinary body, speech, and mind, and can't see further than that, and feel empty and feel suffering. May they see their own completion. Through this merit of this teaching, may all beings obtain omniscience. May all obscurations fall away from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may all beings be freed. Sonam diye tamche zipane topne nepe dranam pamshene jegana chi balap dropaye sipe sole doadro warsho. Just that off.